My own team formally petitioned senior leadership to have me removed as their manager. HR investigated, and then, instead of firing me, they promoted me. To understand how that happened, we have to go back to my first day. I was brought in as an external hire to manage a team that fully expected one of their own to get the job. The resentment was immediate, though they kept it quiet. My strategy for dealing with that friction was simple. I ignored the politics. I focused entirely on the work, setting clear expectations and giving fair feedback. I figured if the team delivered good results, the relationships would naturally follow. But ignoring the emotional reality of a workplace creates a dangerous blind spot. While I was focused on daily operations, several team members were spending months quietly coordinating a case against me. The illusion of a functioning team completely shattered on a Thursday afternoon when I was suddenly called into a meeting with senior leadership. They handed me a formal grievance. It accused me of poor communication, inconsistent expectations, and creating a hostile work environment. It carried 4 separate signatures from a team of 7. I read the document, kept my composure, and made a single request. I asked for 48 hours to prepare my response. As an outsider, I was in a highly precarious position. If I walked into Monday's meeting with nothing but my word against the coordinated accusations of 4 established employees, I would lose. When a unified group leverages subjective accusations against a single target, they create a complete power vacuum. Without hard evidence to fill that space, the manager is entirely defenseless. I went home that evening, opened my laptop, and began systematically compiling my defense. I built what amounted to a ledger. I organized 18 months of historical team data, specifically aiming to test the claim that I had created a failing, hostile environment. I started with the macro view. This chart compares the team's output before my arrival against their performance during my tenure. Response times, client satisfaction scores, and project delivery rates were all trending up. By charting these specific metrics side by side, the subjective claim of a toxic, unworkable environment collided with the objective reality of the team's peak productivity. Quantitative data forces a shift in the conversation. It acts as a firewall against qualitative attacks, requiring the accusers to explain how a supposedly broken team is delivering record-high numbers. But I still had to address the specific accusations of poor communication and inconsistent expectations. That required a micro-level defense. I pulled up my personal notes. I had logged every single one-on-one meeting with each team member, recording exact dates, agreed-upon actions, and the results of those actions. This continuous chain of documentation stripped away the ambiguity. There was no room for a debate over who said what when every directive and follow-up was recorded and checked off. Then came the final piece. I pulled 3 recent emails sent by the very people who signed the petition. In them, they explicitly thanked me for the support I had given them on their projects. A narrative of neglect simply falls apart when placed directly next to the accuser's own timestamps and words of gratitude. When Monday morning arrived, I presented the ledger to leadership. I kept the emotion out of it and just walked them through the facts. HR launched a thorough investigation. They interviewed the entire team, and the 3 members who hadn't signed the petition provided accounts that directly contradicted the claims of the 4 who did. The official conclusion was definitive. The metrics and the meeting logs proved there was no management failure. The complaint was driven entirely by interpersonal friction. In a corporate trial, comprehensive objective documentation effectively clears your name while exposing the true motivations of the people who brought the attack. Leadership recognized the petition as an act of professional sabotage. They formally cautioned 2 of the instigators and moved the 3rd to a different department. 3 months later, I was promoted to senior manager. But the story didn't end with a clean slate. The 4 employees who signed that grievance stayed on my team, and I managed them for another 2 years. I applied the exact same leadership style as before. I was fair, my expectations were clear, and I remained entirely professional. The dynamic was never warm, but it functioned. Effective leadership doesn't require a baseline of friendship. As long as metrics are met and the professionalism is heavily documented, a team can perform at a high level, even in a permanent freeze. The records are what saved me. Tracking metrics, logging meeting notes, and saving routine emails aren't administrative chores. Instead, they are a manager's professional alibi. You have to build this conscientious habit systematically during peacetime. Once an accusation is made, it is far too late to start trying to reconstruct a paper trail. Do the work properly and document it so that when the challenge inevitably comes, the record speaks for itself. Have you ever been undermined by the people you were trying to lead? Tell me what happened in the comments and subscribe, because good management leaves a paper trail.